Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranam devotees. So I have been a little derelict perhaps in not being able to catch up to answering some questions, or at least putting them on the table for discussion that some devotees have written to me either by inbox or by email. I've been a little busy, so it was hard to get them done actually. So I'm going to take the last 3 questions that I received and give kind of very synopsis answers to those as best I can. Again, on this forum, I always have the advantage of more senior, more deeply learned devotees being able to correct anything that I may say that's wrong or that's not adequate to cover the question. So that's why I've chosen this forum, as I mentioned before. So the first question was, I have to read them because obviously I don't have them all 3 remembered. So the first question was, why do we consider Krishna in Dwarka different from Krishna in Vrindavan? So, of course, in Tattva, then we do not. So there's 2 considerations. One is called Tattva Gata Vichara, and the other is called Rasa Vichara. So Tattva Gata Vichara means that if you looked at things according to philosophical truth, then the feature of Krishna, he is called Advaya Gyan Paratattva. It means he's non-dual. So obviously any manifestations of Krishna, they're not different from Krishna in that sense. So Dwakadesh Krishna, Mathuresh Krishna, even other incarnations like Sri Ramchandra Bhagavan, Narasimha Bhagavan, Viraha Bhagavan, they will all be considered, they are all considered Vishnu Tattva, but in another sense you could say, oh, they're not different from Krishna, except in the fact that, they are either Vilas manifestations or Vaibhav Prakash manifestations like Sri Baladev Ji. So, and you can find that in Sanatan Siksha, those kind of details. But in Rasavichar, there's also another consideration. And that consideration is by looking at the nature of how Krishna experiences happiness. His happiness is experienced in a fuller way in the consideration that Krishna in Vrindavan has unique pastimes that cannot be equated with the pastimes in Dwarka and in Mathura. So what evidence do we have of that? Well, the Lord himself is saying, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Aishwarya Gyanite Sakala Jagate Mora Mashit, Aishwarya Shaitila Prem Nahi Mora Preet. That love that is, Shaitila means that is reduced or made feeble is the translation in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I believe. That love which is reduced or made feeble by consideration of the Aishwarya of Bhagavan or Aishwarya of Krishna, his opulence, is not as pleasing to the Lord. So for this reason, the unique feature of Vrindavan is that the Aishwarya of Krishna is completely covered or overwhelmed by Madhurya or sweetness. So in Vrindavan, the Brijavasis do not consider Krishna God. That Garga Acharya, when he came and he was doing the naming ceremony, he mentioned, Nandastu Atmajo Yamte Narayana Samaha Guna, that your son, he has qualities like Narayan. So because of this statement of Garga Acharya, then the Brijabasis reconcile the manifestation of Krishna's opulence, such as lifting Govardhan Hill, killing certain demons who are actually being killed by Vishnu. They're not directly being killed by Krishna anyway, but the aspect of Vishnu within Krishna is killing the demons. But they reconcile these activities because of the statement of Gargacharya, that your son, because of the extreme piety of Nanda Baba and Yashodamai, right, that they were blessed with a son who has qualities like Narayan. So they don't consider actually that Krishna is Bhagavan. You understand? The love that they show towards Krishna in Vatsalya Prem, Sakya Prem, Madhurya Prem, right? That love is fully imbued with sweetness and has no hint of Aishwarya, right? Of course, in Mathura and in Dwarka, the residents of those places, their love in Mathura is mixed with Aishwarya and Madhurya. In Dwarka, more there is Aishwarya, that he's Bhagavan. You understand? Just like in Mathura, when Krishna was suffering in deep separation from Vrindavan, he called Uddhava. So Uddhava knows Krishna is Bhagavan, but he called and told, Gacha Vurva Somyam, Pitaro Prityavaha, Mad Gopi Viyogadim, Mat Sandashara Vimochaya. He looked at Uddhava as a confidant and as someone he could get advice from. Right? Stephen mentioned Vishninam Paravo Mantri, that Uddhava is like, Paravo Mantri means like the best of counselors, right, to Krishna. So Krishna's Bhagavata, his being God, is subdued by the nature of the particular type of prem which is shown towards him. You understand? So he called Uddhava, oh Uddhava, I'm taking shelter of you, advice from you. How can I give some solace to my mother and father, to other Brijabasis, and especially to the gopis who are suffering in such a deep mood of separation as I am myself here? You understand? So this is all to point out that in Mathura, even though Uddhava has some idea Krishna is Bhagavan, still even in Mathura, some sweetness is there. In Dwarka, it's more dominated by Aishwarya. You understand? So, for this reason, because Krishna, his desire is to taste the sweetness of love in an intimate way, free from the conceptions of Aishwarya, then under Rasa Vichar, we will consider that Krishna in Braj is different. You understand? So this is why we make that differentiation, right? Because in the nature of serving Krishna, this differentiation comes into play. Right? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has mentioned Aradyo Bhagavan Vajesha Tad Dhamma Vrindavana, right? That our object of worship for those coming in this line of Mahaprabhu, the object of worship is the son of Nanda Maharaj, Vrajisha Tanaya, Tad Dhamma Vrindavanam, in the transcendental Dhamma Vrindavan. Right? And the method for worshiping him, Ramaskaschit Upasana Brajavadu Varagena Yakalpita. That mode of worship, Upasana, which was done by Brajagopis. This is the best mode of worship for Sri Krishna. Right? And he cites the Srimad Bhagavatam as Amalaparan and spotless evidence for this. And it is the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he doesn't hold adar, means any regard for opinion outside of the opinion of Mahaprabhu. Because Mahaprabhu is that same Sri Krishna himself. You understand? So, and that's a whole other thing, understanding how the incarnation of Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna, but Sri Krishna imbued with the mood and sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radhika. So this is another discussion. But basically, to answer your question, that these two considerations are there. To give consideration to things under Tattva, that Bhagavan means Ramari Muteshu Kala Niyamena Tistan Nanavatar Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu, etc. That Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, but that all incarnations, everything else, they're Advaya Gyan Paratattva, they're also Vishnu Tattva, so they're also Krishna. But in a deeper sense, so to speak, considering things according to Rasa, in other words, what is more tasteful to Krishna. Rasa here means taste. There's an actual definition of rasa, vyatati bhavana vatma yaschamatkara bharabahu, but just suffice it for answering, because I'm speaking to this devotee in particular, right? Understand it that rasa means the taste inherent between the exchange, inherent in the exchange between Sri Krishna and his devotee, right? So that taste is sweeter when it is imbued with madhurya, right? And it is lessened by the influence of Aishwarya. Therefore, from rasa perspective, then the worship of Krishna is seen to be different from that of Vasudeva Krishna or Sri Bhagavan Narayan or any other incarnations, right? And particularly in this line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I mentioned from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, our object of worship is not even Krishna alone, of course, but is Krishna with all of his associates, especially in this line, Krishna in the association of Srimati Radhika. Of course, that can be elaborated upon, and I invite devotees to elaborate. I'm just giving a synopsis, as I mentioned in the beginning. Is it Krishna's desire? Second question, is it Krishna's desire or is it our desire, the way we choose to serve Krishna? So I think this question came up once before. I think I answered it for someone else. And that is that we certainly have to understand there's an intersection between the desire of how the Lord wants to be served and the desire of the devotee to serve Krishna in a particular way. I'm not dealing here with whether or not rasa is inherent in all of that. There's a whole form of discussions going on about all of these things. And, you know, I've heard from so many different angles of vision. I've also given some presentation regarding this. So I'm answering the question based on the simplicity of the question, not more complex answer about whether or not there's already some predetermined mode of service and so forth like this. So anyway, the idea here is that certainly we should see there's an intersection between Krishna's desire to accept service in a certain way and the devotee's desire to serve in a particular way. So the Leela Shakti of Bhagavan will arrange like that, right? Because the devotee's mentality is Anya Abhilasita Sunyam Gyana Karmadi Anavatam Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam Bhakti Uttama. Uttam Bhakti is devoid of any other desire except the Anukul Seva of Krishna. Anukul means favorable, loving service to Krishna. So all endeavors are meant exclusively for that purpose. So no devotee will think, yes, it's all about me, I want to do this. It really doesn't matter what Krishna wants to do. He's like a sort of order supplier or he's just like meant to just grant me what I want to do. So that cannot possibly be the mentality of someone in pure bhakti. So the idea is that certainly the inner core of the inspiration for a particular type of service must have included in it that this is also something that Krishna wants, right? Because the inspiration for a particular type of service would not have come to me if it was not, even if you look at it from the idea that, you know, Praktan and Adunik Sanskars create impressions in the heart that give us view of our development in bhakti and how we want to serve. Even if you said that, the inspiration certainly we could not say is absent completely of Krishna's desire to be served in a particular way. So my point here being that certainly there's an intersection between the two things. It's not exclusively our desire, only how I want to serve, and nor Krishna will become like controller. Oh, I only want this, right? Because then that brings up many other complexities. So there is an intersection between Krishna's desire to be served in a particular way and the inspiration that comes in the heart of a devotee to serve in a particular way. The devotee wrote a second part to that question, and it kind of relates to another person's question, the last question I'll do for today, which is, how do you know when you have reached a certain stage in bhakti? Like, for instance, Adosh, and then he's quoting the verse, Adosh Shraddha Atata Sadhu Sangha, he's quoting this verse. How do you know when you're at a particular stage? So, part of that, and I just had a whole bhakti intensive in South Florida not too long ago, and we went over in detail kind of the necessity, and I've been speaking on this pretty regularly, and I think on my next travel for preaching, I'll be speaking on it again, is the need of devotees to tune your consciousness into the practice of bhakti. Because inherent in the practice of bhakti is the awareness of your unfoldment. So it's not mysterious. Bhakti will not happen as a sudden epiphany. Well, I don't want to rule it out completely, but that's not the norm. Bhakti doesn't happen as I've just been practicing. Then one day, like a shock of lightning, an epiphany takes place and everything is manifest. Over the course of unfoldment, there will be realizations according to the purity of your practice and the combination of the kripa of Guru, sadhus, and Bhagavan. So over the course of your practice, you will gradually realize the intensification of faith. Everything begins with faith. And then in a continuum, faith starts to manifest realizations. Like you'll have realization what it means to do sadhu sangha. Means first, what is a sadhu? Sadhnoti cha, sadhnoti, sadayati cha, Krishna premiti sadhu. And what does it mean to do sangha of a sadhu? Samyak rupen anugamana. So all these things, they won't just come as an intellectual perspective on the Krishna consciousness movement, but it will come as an actual realization. Oh, what is a sadhu? What is the kripa of a sadhu? How to do the anugatya of a sadhu? And then applying ourselves to that level of realization, the next level of realization builds on that. So the sadhu will give instructions how to do bhajan. And then in applying ourselves to bhajan life, then inherent in that, of course, the principal thing in bhajan is nam. And nam namakri bhuda nija sarva shakti. Right? All the shakti is present in nam. And the gradual realization by the unfoldment from namapara to namabhas and coming to Sudanam, gradually the presence of the full Shakti of Bhagavan, means everything of Bhagavan is present in the name, will start to manifest itself and start to give revelation of not only Nam itself, but of all the things related to Nam. Nam, Rup, Gun, Parikar, Leela. So all these things will gradually begin to unfold. A byproduct of this unfoldment in bhajan is the dissipation of anarthas and a tendency for sinful activity. So those things are dissipated much in the same way that light dissipates darkness. There's not really a separate endeavor to dissipate darkness, but rather when light is present, darkness is automatically dissipated in the presence of light. So similarly, by the illumination of bhajan, the darkness of avidya is removed. When that darkness is removed and the chitta now is cleared from the vrittis or functions or the movements that have come from the influence of avidya, then nishta, nischalaya, yasha iti nishta, then nishta takes place. Nishta means, nischala means that the nischalaya means the chitta is not oscillating and going through many changes due to the impulses coming from the sinful life and from anarthas and all of these things. Right? And then after that will come ruchi. Tat tat bhavadi mavyare shuti dirapekshite. This verse, that ruchi means literally that when you will hear Harikatha, then naturally a taste in that Harikatha will come. So much like, even if you know the ingredients, I think I've mentioned this before, if you know the ingredients of halava, that you need grains, farina, a sweetener, butter, ghee, whatever kind of halava you're making, blueberry halava, date halava, whatever it might be, right? So you know all these ingredients go along with water, right? And all these separate ingredients, you realize what it takes to make the halava. But when you're actually tasting halava, the consideration of the individual ingredients doesn't arise in your mind, right? Only the experience of the combined taste of halava presents itself. So in ruchi, literally, as you begin to hear on that platform, the sweetness of the lila itself will give a taste that doesn't require sastra yukti. Sastra yukti means I have to now analyze what is this, what is that, right? But the organic nature of the taste itself will present itself in the heart, which has now been, it's like another verse describing ruchi. Tasha tadrisa surakara kabasha samula sita hridaya spatakamani. When your heart becomes clear like a crystal, it's written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Your heart becomes clear like a crystal. Then the abhas of the mood of a particular associate whom the impressions have come in your heart. I want to serve like that associate. That abhas means like a shadow or reflection will come into the crystal-like heart of the devotee. And at that time, a natural taste for serving in that mood will become apparent. This is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that when a person is interested in taking rag marg, right? Sadakya jakon rag marg lob hoy, takon sadguru nikata, right? Then you should find sadguru, right? And being near sadguru, then that sadguru, ruchi pariksha, korila, bhajan nirnoy, examining your heart at the stage of ruchi, what kind of taste is coming in your heart. Bhajan nirnoy means he will give instructions how to crystallize that by practicing bhajan in a particular way. In the very beginning of our practice, when we take diksha, because the first elements of practice are guru parasraya, diksha, shiksha, then vishwambena guru seva and sadhu, vatmanam, sadhu, anugatya, right? So even when you take diksha, some seed of all of these things is already being given, right? In divya gyan, because diksha means two things, divya gyanam and kshiyate papanasanam. So divya gyanam, Jiva Goswami has mentioned, means divya gyanam shrimati mantra, no? Divya gyanam I'm trying to think this verse. Divya gyanam shrimati Anyway, this verse is describing divya gyanam. Divya Gyanam Shrimati Mantre, Bhagavat Sarup Gyanam Tena, Bhagavat Sambandha Visesh Gyanamscha. Right? So Divya Gyan means in the form of a mantra, right? That the particular form or Ishtadev that you have aspiration to worship, right? That's given at the time of Diksha. Divya Gyanam Yantra Shrimati Mantre, Bhagavat Sarup Gyanam Tena. What form of Bhagavan you want to worship? And Bhagavat Sambandha Visesh. What is the particular type of relationship that you will serve in? These things are given at the time of Diksha, right? And then they are crystallized, clarified, right, over the course of doing your bhajan life, right? And especially at Ruchi, the indications become clear. So then Guru Dev can give Ruchi Pariksha, means to examine that Ruchi and give instructions how to do bhajan in such a way as to crystallize it. And then when it becomes crystallized, then doing bhajan, gradually deep attachment to the object of that bhajan takes place. This is called asakti. And from asakti, there's like the position of having gone to the point of only awaiting the kripa of bhakti. Bhakti Shakti, awaiting the kripa of Bhakti Shakti. At that time, when Bhakti Shakti bestows her mercy, at that time, Sura Sattva Visheshatma Prem Siyangsa Samyabhak Ruchi Bishchittamasananya Kuraso Bhavuchite. That time, an actual ray of Sarup Shakti will come and enter the heart and give illumination, and it'll be very crystallized. What is the Seva Abhista Upayogi Deinam, that form which you want to serve in, you'll be able to see it. And therefore you will practice your bhajan life at that point in bhavavas, which means seva sarika rupena siddha rupena chatrihi. One of only 2 verses Rupa Goswami Pad is written on this Rag Marg and Bhakti Rasmina Sindhu. Of course, it's been very elaborated in Rag Vatma Chandrika, Prem Bhakta Chandrika, etc. But 2 verses he wrote. One is this, seva sarika rupena siddha rupena chatrihi. Tad bhava lupsanakara vrajalokanusartha. So in bhav, being able to clearly see that desired form for service, then taking shelter of that by antas chintan, means internal meditation, one can serve in that siddha roop. And then after giving up this body, right, one obtains, by the mercy of the Lord, he's awarded oneness with that body. Like Narada Muni explains, Prayujamani Mayitwam Surin Bhagavatim Tanum in this verse. Right? But of the karma nirvano anya patat panchabodhika. And then the material antakaran means subtle body and the gross body all goes away. And prayuj, one meaning of prayuj is inextricable oneness takes place between the Atma and that realized Siddha Deha. And then one will take birth in Prakat Braj, means wherever Krishna is performing his Leela within the material world. And from there, further development will take place in the Anugatya of Nitya associates in the particular mood for which you are fit to serve. Right? So I hope that gave some indication of the different stages. I didn't really speak fully what I wanted to speak about, how to recognize that, right? How to recognize when I'm going through these various stages. I will give one mode of caution, a word of caution, and that's that we should neither impose or repose from the actions of bhakti. Bhakti is in control. You cannot control bhakti. Bhakti comes from bhakti. Bhakti sanjatya bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. It's not due to our endeavors. Our endeavors are more of a plea for the mercy of bhakti to come. They don't control bhakti. So, when bhakti shows kripa, we should neither impose on that kripa or repose from it. So reposing from it means sometimes under the politically correct idea of what is humility and so forth and so on, even if we have some realization, we say, oh, no, I'm so fallen, I'm nothing, that can't be happening, right? Or we look for an artificial manifestation of the creeper of bhakti, right? There should be some kind of epiphany, like I should get a darshan, or there should be some other kind of thing where I suddenly have some ecstatic symptom, right? So we should not impose any prakrit mood. Prakrit means like prakrita sahajya, means that we should not impose prakrit bhavs or prakrit actions, meaning with the senses or with moods, into the arena of the workings of bhakti. Bhakti will give revelations in the heart. You should put them in your heart, keep them there, and go on practicing bhakti. Right? Very deeply, sincerely, and humbly. Right? And we should not repose either. We should not give ourselves a self-conception of where we are fit or unfit. This actually Mahaprabhu has said, right? Patra nakari le vichar. Mahaprabhu did not consider who had, patra means a container. Mahaprabhu did not consider who had a container, who did not have a container. Right? In bestowing his mercy. So obviously this doesn't give rise to the idea that we can do any and everything and, still bhakti will come, right? The sincerity of our endeavor to practice bhakti is our plea. Bhakti Vinod Thakur has mentioned, Ekaki amara nahi pai bhal, harinam sankirtane. Right? Even though I have sankirtan, I don't feel the power. Of course, he said this in his realized humility. I don't feel I have the power. Therefore, Krishna said to me, Krishna dati para tomara sakatiache. Ami tu kangal Krishna Krishna bole, daya tava pache pache. Oh, Vaishnav Thakur, I know you have Krishna. Right? So I'm appealing to you. You have not only have Krishna, you have the ability to give Krishna. Therefore, Ami tu kangal means I've abandoned all sense of normalcy in my ideas about what I should and should not do. And I've simply become mad in Dayatava Poche Poche, running after you, begging that you will bestow your mercy and give Krishna. Understand? So we should simply have this mood. I don't have power of my own, but my Guru Parapadma is so merciful that seeing my sincere endeavor, my Guru Dev, certainly his heart will melt, her heart will melt, and they will bestow upon me the subsidy of their mood and enhance and stimulate and ignite my potential to realize gradually through the unfoldment of bhakti all of these things. So I hope that answered those questions. Forgive me, I'm trying to summarize so many things in one, and also trying to make plans for travel, so many different things at once. So forgive me for any mistakes, and I beg any senior devotees to please make any corrections for the benefit of these persons who asked the questions. My Dandavat Pranam devotees, Vancha Kalpaturubhischa Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.